5 years have passed since King Von was laid to rest, and yet, even in death, he hasn't been allowed peace.
So once again, man, the ops has taken it too far, yo. One of King Von's ops showed up at his grave site to disrespect him in the grave.
The war didn't stop when his life did, and his enemies still haven't let go. Members tied to the gangster disciples have been caught on camera vandalizing his grave. That level of disrespect doesn't go unnoticed. Lil Durk saw it, and while he hasn't spoken publicly, make no mistake, he hasn't forgotten either. Because what's happening now isn't just grief, it's fuel, and it's ensuring that this war never truly ends. Let's break it down. King Von, born Davon Daquan Bennett, was shot and killed on November 6, 2020, outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia.
You gonna knock you the f out. You already know that's happening.
He was only 26 years old. The man who pulled the trigger was Timothy Leaks, also known as Lul Tim, affiliated with Quando Rondo's crew. Prosecutors later ruled the shooting as justifiable self-defense under Georgia law, and by August 2023, all charges against Leaks were dropped. Legally, the case was closed, but in the streets, it never was.
So once again, man, the ops has taken it too far, yo. One of King Von's ops showed up at his grave site to disrespect him in the...
Von was buried at Burr Oak Cemetery in Alsip, Illinois, a historic Black-owned cemetery with deep cultural significance. It's the same ground where Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley were once laid to rest. But almost immediately, his gravesite became something else entirely. On one side, it turned into a pilgrimage spot, fans coming to pay respects to an artist they genuinely loved. On the other, it became a target. Not long after his burial in November 2020, individuals believed to be affiliated with the 051 Young Money set tracked down the exact location of his grave.
Stop this is insane. Like, come on, bro. Let that man rest in.
And what they allegedly attempted wasn't simple vandalism, not spray paint, not stepping on the headstone. They reportedly tried to dig him up. That attempt failed, but it changed everything.
King Von talks about how he met Lil Durk.
Now, when it comes to Lil Durk, are you biologically related to him?
Von's family reacted fast. Reports suggest that multiple layers of concrete were poured around the casket to prevent any further tampering. There are also strong rumors that his actual remains were either relocated or secured in a hidden, unmarked location, while the public headstone at Burr Oak remained for fans. What came out of that is what the drill community now calls the two graves theory.
My brother. Like, we ain't got the same mother and same father, though, but that's mine.
One visible, one real. A decoy and a protected resting place. Whether fully confirmed or not, the story spread across platforms, TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, and stuck. Not because it sounded wild, but because in that environment, it sounded believable.
Is that strange, like, just to have the court basically just saying you can't be cool with one of your best?
Yeah. And even with those precautions, the disrespect didn't stop. In late 2022 or early 2023, a Chicago female rapper tied to 051, known online as Avena Money, went viral after posting a video of herself standing directly on Von's grave marker.
Yeah, because you know, it's like, I started this shit off with him. Like, he started it up for me and everything. Like, people get to notice me.
The clip exploded across social media. It wasn't subtle, it was deliberate. Bandman Kavo responded publicly, warning her that actions like that come with consequences. Then things escalated even further. FBG Duck's mother posted a counter video holding her son's ashes, adding another emotional layer to an already volatile situation. OTF affiliates reacted strongly, and still, Lil Durk said nothing.
He bringing me to his interviews and pulling up a chair right here and letting me sit right there.
But all that stuff is out for right now, which is unfortunate.
But silence doesn't mean inaction. By mid-June 2025, things reached another level. A Chicago rapper known as 051 Kiddo, who had previously served around 10 years in prison and had even shared a jail cell with Von, visited Burr Oak Cemetery himself.
My favorite rappers ever was King Von. You had a great relationship with him, obviously. Yeah. Where were you when you got the call?
We was in Houston. We was shooting a video, I think.
He was one of the most talented guys on the...
He stood over Von's grave. He dissed OTF on camera. And according to multiple sources, he went beyond words. Reports from within the community claimed he urinated on or near the grave. Kiddo later confirmed enough details in follow-up content that the accusations gained credibility.
He had a whole image, you know what I'm saying? And he lived what he lived. He rapped about he lived, but he was good-hearted at the same time.
He framed it as retaliation for years of diss tracks and tension between sides. But what made it hit harder was the history, because this wasn't just an enemy. This was someone Von had reportedly helped during a fight while they were locked up in Cook County Jail.
What's the story? What's your story?
My story, I just got to jail for just beat a body into a
Someone he once stood beside, now standing over his grave in disrespect. That moment captured exactly how deep this goes. This isn't just beef. This is betrayal layered on top of a war that never ended. And while commentary channels, bloggers, and fans reacted instantly,
He was in jail for 2 murders?
Yeah, 1 murder and 2 attempts. I just beat.
How you beat that?
What you mean I beat?
I mean, you didn't do it, clearly.
calling it clout chasing, cowardly, and beyond disrespect, Durk still remains silent, because sometimes silence is the loudest response. And to understand why, you have to go back to what King Von really was to Lil Durk in the first place, because this story, it didn't start with death, it started with brotherhood. He was never charged in August 2020, but that does not mean his name disappeared from the violence surrounding that world. In Chicago, names do not vanish just because a courtroom never stamped them. Sometimes they become even heavier after death. That same summer, FBG Duck, a GD-affiliated rapper who had built much of his career on openly disrespecting OBlock and Dead Rivals through songs like Dead Bitches, was ambushed and killed in broad daylight on Chicago's Gold Coast. It was one of the boldest drill-related murders the city had ever seen, a shooting in one of the most upscale shopping districts in Chicago, far removed from the neighborhoods where that war was born. Years later, in a 2024 federal RICO case, men linked to OBlock were convicted in connection to Duck's murder. Federal filings also referenced allegations that King Von had placed a bounty on Duck before Von's own death.
Lil Durk just sat down with DJ Academics for an off-the-record interview, and of course, your boy's name got brought up. Academics actually asked Lil Durk what he thought of these rumors that King Von is a serial killer.
Von was never alive to face those allegations in court, but by the time those documents became public, they added even more weight to the mythology, fear, and controversy around his name. Then, just 3 months after Duck was killed, Von himself was dead in Atlanta.
I ain't watched the documentary, but I know it's cap.
But you didn't even watch it, so how are you gonna know it's all cap?
That is the machinery that creates a moment where somebody can pull up to a cemetery on a random afternoon, stand on an ops grave with a camera in hand, and post it online like it is a trophy. That kind of behavior does not come out of nowhere. It comes from decades of blood, humiliation, retaliation, and a culture where disrespect is not finished until it is seen.
I was relieved for the community, man. Cause he was over there torturing them guys, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. It is what it is.
Every act of vandalism or mockery at Burr Oak Cemetery is not some isolated stunt. It is a data point in a war that predates the people currently carrying it. The OBlock versus 051 conflict was never manufactured for the internet. It is a hyperlocal, block-by-block extension of a much older Chicago street war, and it lives by one brutal rule. The beef does not die when the person does.
People need to be gone, bro. You know what I'm talking about, in order for to get better. And he one of them. I ain't gonna lie.
What drill music and social media changed was not the violence itself. What they changed was the volume. Now, diss tracks name real dead people. Graveyard videos collect millions of views. Disrespect is no longer whispered on a block corner or spread through rumor. It is filmed, uploaded, shared, memed, and replayed across the entire world. The psychological warfare hits harder when the whole internet is watching.
This is a tough position with the 6ix9ine thing. 6ix9ine was somebody who, you know, he showed me a lot of love, especially early on during his career.
That is why people around Von's burial site reportedly stayed alert. That is why stories of concrete reinforcements, possible grave relocation, and cleanup crews became part of the narrative. None of that sounds like rap drama when you understand the stakes. Those were practical responses to a threat that was both ideological and physical.
Like with you and him, and especially Von passing away, got personal.
What those precautions could not do was make the threat disappear. And that is the context you need before the incidents at Von's grave truly make sense. Because to understand why Burr Oak matters, you have to understand the men behind the music.
I just remember, like, even thinking, I'm like, I understand playing the media side and you're trying to be neutral. Like, if you said anything, I'm gonna post.
Once you know who King Von and Lil Durk were in the streets before rap fame, those grave visits stop looking like internet trolling aimed at a celebrity. They become something much darker. Enemies pulling up on the burial site of a man.
People are like, they disrespect him. That's like your bro. You know what I mean?
Who, by many credible accounts in police files, court records, and federal documents, had real weight in the streets, long before microphones and platinum plaques ever entered the picture. And that is the point. Von's criminal history started early. His first known arrest came around January 2011, when he was still just a teenager, with allegations tied to armed robbery and carjacking.
But it's like, what I'm gonna do? You think I'm finna hop on that and tell you I'm finna kill you? You think I'm finna do an interview? When I
Juvenile detention followed. While locked up, he earned his GED, but getting out did not mean the system let go of him. He returned to court repeatedly, including gun-related charges, and spent the next few years moving in and out of the criminal justice system. By the time he was old enough to legally drink, he already had a serious record forming around him. Then came the case that would define the next chapter of his life.
I know that's happening, so it's like, I play my game. I just sit back, watch.
On May 29, 2014, at a birthday party on South LaSalle Street in Inglewood, gunfire erupted. Malcolm Stuckey, 19 years old, was shot in the head and killed. 2 other people were wounded. Von, who was 19 at the time, and an associate named Michael Big Mike Wade were accused in the shooting.
So jaded now that it's just not unexpected. It's just like a matter of time is the way I look at it with these folks. I mean, you're rich, you're successful.
On July 24, 2014, Von was arrested and charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. There was no easy way out. He sat in Cook County Jail for more than 3.5 years awaiting trial. That amount of time matters because by the time he walked back out in late 2017,
get behind you for the love of God. But sometimes people just can't, and so I felt bad, talked to Durk about it and all that kind of stuff.
He was not just a young man with a case behind him. He was somebody whose name had hardened. Then, in December 2017, the case collapsed. Wade, his co-defendant, recanted key testimony. Wade would later be convicted himself and receive a lengthy sentence, while Von was acquitted. But in Chicago, acquitted and innocent are not always treated as the same thing.
What did Durk say when you talked to him?
I mean, that's his good friend. I mean,
In the language of the streets, an acquittal does not erase suspicion. It only means the state could not prove it beyond reasonable doubt. So even though Von walked free, the perception around him did not disappear. If anything, it grew. And the Inglewood shooting was only one piece of the larger narrative. In April 2014, the same year, K.I. Barnes, a feared GD-affiliated figure from Woodlawn, was killed. K.I. carried a huge name in Chicago street lore and was widely associated with violence that included the death of O.D. Perry, the man OBlock is named after. Police reportedly questioned Von as a person of interest at the time, but no charges were ever filed. Publicly, the case went cold. But later, in documents unsealed in connection with the FBG Duck federal case, investigators named Von in a broader narrative surrounding the war. Those documents alleged that Von had fired additional shots at K.I. while she was wounded. He was never charged in that case, and he was already dead by the time those records surfaced publicly. That is the history being referenced every time enemies show up at Burr Oak. Not just the music, the body count attached to the legend, the street history that came before the rap career. And then in 2023, that image exploded into mainstream internet culture when filmmaker Trap Lore Ross released the documentary King Von, Rap's First Serial Killer. The title alone was designed to detonate. The documentary ran for hours and pulled in millions of views, building the argument that Von fit the technical pattern often associated with serial killing. Multiple murders over time, separated by cooling-off periods, paired with an apparent emotional gratification connected to violence. The documentary pulled from street lore, alleged incidents, tweets, police materials, and federal narratives to build that argument.
Whether people agreed with it or hated it, the label stuck. And once it stuck, Von's enemies embraced it. Because to them, it did not feel like some outrageous media invention. It felt like public confirmation of what they had already believed about him. That is what made the framing so powerful. It took whispered fear from Chicago streets and gave it a worldwide title. Lil Durk rejected it publicly. He dismissed the idea and refused to legitimize a 3-hour documentary about someone he considered his brother. Whether that was grief, loyalty, strategy, or all three at once, only he knows. But the label stayed alive anyway. And then came the part that cut even deeper. At least one person who had known Von in real life, not just through music, not just through internet narratives, but personally, spoke in a way that suggested they were not devastated by his death. They were relieved. That kind of statement tells you everything, because it shows how Von was experienced by some people in that world, not as a rapper, not as an entertainer, but as a real-time threat. And if that is how certain people saw him while he was alive, then Burr Oak Cemetery becomes more than a gravesite. It becomes proof that the threat is gone. And that is why the disrespect continues. Lil Durk's own criminal history runs on a parallel track, though with a different public image wrapped around it. Gun charges, gang allegations, and serious felony cases followed him for years. He caught major adult charges beginning in 2011, then more in 2013, again in 2014, and most notably in the 2019 Atlanta case that he shared with Von. That case included serious felony counts, such as attempted murder, aggravated assault, gang activity allegations, and firearm charges. Durk turned himself in, posted a $300,000 bond, and spent years fighting the case until Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis dropped the charges in October 2022, citing insufficient evidence and prosecutorial discretion. By then, Von had already been dead for nearly 2 years. What stands out about both men is not just the number of arrests or the length of the paper trail. It is what the paper trail reveals about the environment they were moving through. This was not violence as branding. This was violence as a recurring condition of life. And the statistics around hip-hop deaths only reinforce that reality. For years, studies and reporting have pointed out that rap artists, especially those closely tied to street conflicts, face a homicide risk dramatically higher than artists in other genres. Many die in their 20s. Von was 26. He fits that pattern exactly. So when people ask where Durk stands now, especially when it comes to those who continue to disrespect Von, the most important thing about his response is what he refuses to do. He does not perform publicly. In interviews, Durk has made it clear that he understands the trap. The moment you respond out loud, you feed the machine, you give the provocation more oxygen, you help the disrespect travel farther, you turn grief into content for the other side.
So he stays quiet, not because it does not affect him, but because it does. And that silence started sounding very different after October 24, 2024, when U.S. Marshals arrested Durk near Miami International Airport. Federal prosecutors alleged he had booked travel connected to an attempt to leave the country. He was charged under a superseding federal indictment out of the Central District of California with conspiracy to commit murder for hire, resulting in death. The allegation was explosive, that in retaliation for Vaughn's killing, Durk put money on Quando Rondo, and that OTF-linked shooters later tracked Rondo to a Los Angeles gas station on August 19, 2022, opening fire and killing his cousin Lul Pab instead. Durk has pleaded not guilty. He denies the allegations. The trial has been delayed multiple times because of the scale of the case, and as of now, it is scheduled for August 2026. If convicted, he is facing life in prison. And that is what makes all those old interview clips hit differently now. When Durk said he had his own way of handling disrespect, when he said he would not play the internet game, when he said silence did not mean an action, those words started carrying a much heavier meaning once the federal case arrived. Because by the time some of the worst grave disrespect incidents were being filmed and uploaded, Durk was already behind bars, and the government's position was that whatever game he had been playing may have moved off camera long before the public caught up. That is the tragedy sitting under this entire story. A man dies. His grave becomes a battlefield. His enemies keep circling it. His friends clean it up. His brother stays silent. And now that same brother is fighting a federal case that could bury the rest of his life. So when people look at Burr Oak and ainly see trolling, clout chasing, or viral disrespect, they are missing the deeper truth. That grave is not just about King Von being gone. It is about a war that keeps demanding more bodies, more loyalty, more retaliation, and more silence from the people still left standing. It always leads back to this. No matter how far the story stretches, Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles, it always circles back to the same place: loss. Someone who was actually close to Lil Durk sat down with him after King Von's death and asked him directly what he was feeling. Not for a headline, not for content, just the real answer. And what came back wasn't strategy, it wasn't revenge, it wasn't a plan. It was something much simpler and much heavier. Pain. Hurt. That is the most honest, documented reaction we have from someone who looked Durk in the eyes during that moment. No internet speculation, no street interpretation, just grief. And yet, years later, the federal government is standing in a courtroom arguing that what came out of that hurt wasn't silence, but a calculated murder-for-hire plot stretching across state lines. Durk says that isn't true. But here's what is true and what nobody disputes.
The people who keep showing up at Burr Oak Cemetery, pulling out their phones, recording videos, standing on graves, disrespecting Vaughn, they are not just doing it for themselves. They are doing it for a reaction, a tweet, a diss track, a headline, a moment where Durk breaks silence and feeds the machine. Because in this era, attention is currency, and disrespect is content. But Durk refuses to give them that. No statements, no interviews addressing it, no public threats, nothing. Instead, OTF affiliates clean the site. The community reacts. Bloggers talk. Fans argue. And Durk, he stays silent. And that silence is not empty. It's deliberate. Because in a world where a 30-second clip of someone standing on a dead man's grave can generate millions of views, the most powerful move might be refusing to participate at all. No response means no amplification. No amplification means no victory. Right now, Durk sits in federal detention at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles. His trial is approaching. The stakes couldn't be higher. Outside those walls, the story is still moving. The grave is still being watched. The tension hasn't faded. And the man who once brought Vaughn into the spotlight, who gave him a seat at the table, who flew him to Atlanta the moment he came home, who was in a Houston studio when the call came in that changed everything. That man hasn't said a single public word about what keeps happening at Burr Oak. Not one. So interpret the silence however you want. Call it discipline. Call it strategy. Call it grief that never found a place to land. But understand what it's built on. Because behind every viral video, every graveyard clip, every diss and every response, there's something much quieter holding it all together. A loss that never got the chance to breathe. If you made it this far, you already know, this story goes deeper than rap. Hit like and tap into the next video on your screen, because there's always another layer they're not telling you.